Okay, I think we are finally back in business. Oh, jeez. Uh, just had to figure out what was going on with the stream. Man, YouTube, you are a pain. Wow. Oh, jeez, back to it.
I am, right, Aaron? I'm going to count. Why am I going to count it? Exactly, because I had one that happened within the first 5 seconds, right? So any behaviors that I keep seeing that fall outside that first 5 seconds before I ask another question is going to be part of my cluster. So if I've got 7 here, right? That tells me I've got a liar. That tells me I've got a person who's not being candid. And by the way, we never call them a liar. We just say they're not being candid. Okay? So I've got somebody who's not being candid with me. What if I had just 2 inside that first 5 seconds? Would that be a truthful answer? Would that be a deceptive answer? It would be deceptive, right? Now, is that lie right there a bigger lie than the person who only shows me 2 deceptive behaviors? We have no way of knowing, right? We have no.
I'm supposed to be live, but don't know if I am. I can't tell if you guys can see me or not. Okay. Apparently you can, but I'm still not sure 100%. Not sure. Um, back to it. I apologize, guys. I'm so sorry.
No way of knowing. That 2 deceptive behaviors could be my son telling me he doesn't have homework. I'm sorry. That one could be my son telling me he doesn't have homework. All right? The person who shows me 2 deceptive indicators might be a really, really bad person, but it comes down to how much someone's buying into the lie. How important is it for me to convince you I'm being truthful? And at the end of the day, when people are doing this kind of stuff, what they're trying to do is manipulate us. Okay? Manipulate us to believe them. All right? Manipulation is a big thing, but that's what they're doing. They're doing and saying things to manipulate our thoughts about them. Okay, so timing and clusters. That's our most important thing, timing and clusters. We want to manage our bias. All right? Now, it says up here that I want to ignore truthful behavior. Why do you think I want to ignore truthful behavior? Any thoughts? Good. Okay. Right? We're inherently good. Is everybody inherently good? I mean, she's right. She's absolutely right. You know, look, we were all raised to be good people. Well, at least 90% of us in the room were raised to be good people. Can't speak for everybody, right? But we were taught lying was wrong, right? Didn't your parents tell you lying was not a good thing to do? All right. Did your parents ever say to you, look, if you lie, you're going to be in twice as the trouble that you would have been if you had just told me the truth and done something wrong? Right? So we know lying is wrong.
Oh, that's definitely something that parents say. One second. edit this title real quick. Sorry.
At least that's what we've been taught, that lying is wrong. Deceptive people can give us truthful answers. So if you ask a question of a person that they're comfortable answering, they can answer that truthfully. Okay? Any discussion that you have, any interview, again, anything that you're doing, you're a buyer, you're talking to folks, and you want to get to the truth. Is this your lowest price? And people are doing things to convince you that that's the lowest price. Let's start with that. Okay? They are going to do things. They're going to say things to convince you that that's the lowest price. You're having a conversation with them. You're trying to determine, is it the lowest price? What else can I get? Just lots of questions that you have. You're taking notes. You're thinking of follow-up questions. It is like getting a drink of water out of a fire hose. There's too much going on. If I tell you, forget about looking for truthful behavior, because you will see it on some questions, forget about looking at truthful behavior, then that cuts your job half and half. Right? Now you're getting a drink of water out of a garden hose as opposed to out of a fire hose. All right? It makes things a lot easier. But truthful people, or deceptive people who give you truthful answers, make it look like they're good folks. They're cooperative folks. They're going to give you everything that you need to get. All right? And in reality, what they're doing is convincing you that they're being truthful because you saw one good answer, not several good answers. Okay? For just a moment, let's go back to Jamie. What did Jamie do that made you think she was deceptive? What did she do? Somebody said she was lying right out of the box. What did she do? Okay, she touched her face, her feet were tapping. What else? She was blinking a lot. Too quick to answer all the questions. Okay. Conversely, what did she do that you liked? Did all of you think she was guilty? Okay, what did she do that you liked? Okay. Okay, that's good. And were you the one that yelled out she's lying? Okay. No. No. I knew it came from that direction, but that's good, right? So it was one of these situations where you were yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. That is every conversation that you will have with people. Sounds good, sounds bad, sounds good, sounds bad. How do we split between the two? Did I see a hand up over there? Yes. Yeah, I didn't decorate the room. I just did the interview. So, but no, you're absolutely right. And that's when I talk about people manipulating our perception, manipulating us to believe them. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Because there were some questions that she answered pretty nicely, right? There's some questions that she didn't. You know, what we do in a lot of situations is we ask people, for example, when we do an investigation inside the organization. One of our questions will be, "What do you do here?" And most of the people will just give you a job title, right? But the people that we know are already setting out to manage our perception will give us this long job description. Okay, that goes way beyond what we're asking for. So they give us so much information, and the purpose of that is again to convince us that they're good people. Well, what happens when I hear if I'm a novice and I hear a truthful answer, I start to think that's a good person. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Okay, I start to believe they're good. I start to believe that they want to cooperate. And when I talk about the halo effect, that's what I'm talking about. So if I'm not looking for deceptive behavior and looking for truthful behavior instead, I'm going to find truthful behavior. And it's going to convince me early on that that person's good. And then I'm going to miss the bad. I like the fact that you guys brought up a couple things that's going to be here later. I like the fact that you saw the feet moving. I like the fact you saw the nose thing, scratching her nose. But which is right? Is she truthful or is she deceptive? What makes us right? All right? So we're going to get more into that. All right, I want to recognize evasiveness. Have you ever asked someone a question and they've talked for 10 minutes and then you realize they never answered the question you asked? Okay, right? I mean, it happens all the time.
I think we all know people like that. They'll ramble for 10 minutes and tell you about their time they were fired from the job and how much their brother owes them and this, that, and the other, but really you just asked them why they took them so long to go to the store. You know what I'm saying? People. Back to it.
If you ask somebody, is that your best price? And they go through all these things, tell you all these reasons why that's their best price, but they haven't said no. Okay? They've not given you the answer that you've asked for. If you're interviewing somebody for a job and you ask them if they've ever had problems with a supervisor or problems in a job, and they give you all these great reasons for why they're a good employee, but they never answer whether or not they had any problems in a job. But we don't hear it because we're not thinking. We're not listening for whether they answer the question or not. We're just listening for whether they answer. So we need to make sure that they're actually giving us the information we're asking for. The other thing is what we call failure to deny. The most important thing to the honest person is giving you that answer, denying if they didn't do something. That's the most important thing. The truth is their biggest ally. So they're going to want to deny something if they haven't done it. Okay? They're going to want to deny anything that was going to make them look better if they haven't done it. So we need to listen for people to deny stuff. Then we have what we call exclusionary qualifiers. Now, by exclusionary qualifiers, I mean things like saying, for the most part, fundamentally, not really, not really. Exclusionary qualifiers beg for a follow-up question. All right? Absolutely beg for a follow-up question. Now, poor Erin sat here right in front of me, so I'm going to be picking on her for the whole presentation. But let's say, okay, I've met Erin. Let's say I met Erin last night, and I really want to make a good impression with you guys. So I go to Erin this morning, and I say, hey, Erin, look, do you think what I'm wearing is okay for today? Now, I realize the conflict here because I'm sitting in front of a whole bunch of retail people, okay, some of you who sell clothes. So I realize I'm putting myself right in the mix here, but let's say to Erin, Darren, do you see anything wrong with what I'm wearing? And her response is not really. Think about this for a moment. Not really. Okay, so, if I'm in my optimistic mood, which doesn't happen very often, but I'm in an optimistic mood and I hear not really, I think, oh, I'm okay, right? What I'm wearing is okay. But if I don't hear it from an optimistic standpoint, I hear it from a negative one, and I go, oh, not really. So my next question to Erin is going to be what? That's my next question to Erin. Okay, well, Erin, if there's something you had to pick that you don't like about it, what would it be? I just want to see if you would. No, but you hear what I'm saying? If somebody says not really, it's begging a follow-up. So my follow-up, it's got to come, because if I don't ask that follow-up, I'm not gonna get it. All right, I'm not gonna hear it. I'm not gonna hear what the real answer is. So if somebody says to you, well, fundamentally, this is the way we do things, or for the most part, this is the this is the way we do things, they're cutting something out. We want to know what it is that they're cutting out. So you have to ask that follow-up question. Well, okay, that's what you do basically, but what did you do in this situation? Okay? So that's exclusionary qualifiers. I have used one of these before. All right, aggression. Attacking the questioner. Let's say you've had a theft. and you're interviewing all of your employees, all right? And you ask them, did you have anything to do with this? Did you remove any of this information? Right? And they just come back at you and say, you guys always think it's me. You know, it's just because of the way I was born or how I dress or whatever. You always think it's me. And they question, they attack you. You know, you're not even in the store. You don't even know what goes on. People walk in and out all the time. That's big. All right? When I talk about different behaviors, there's some behaviors that weigh more than others. Aggression is one of those. Okay? If you have somebody who jumps down your throat because you ask them a question, I don't even care if it's your kid. You know, you say to your kid, what did you do last night? And they're like, why are you always asking me this? You don't trust me. Why don't you trust me? Okay, what have I ever done? All right? You got a problem. You got a problem. All right? Attacking a third party. All right? It's the same sort of thing. You know, look, it's the store's fault. The store doesn't have very good security. All right, it's you know, we don't have what we need in here. You know, you guys never bring the right stuff in. Of course, stuff's going to disappear because we can't sell it. All right, they're attacking the third party. Right? Again, it's a big deal. Anytime you're talking about aggression, any sort of attack, it's big. Demonstrating an inappropriate level of concern. Opposite ends of the spectrum. You ask them a question. You ask them an important question, and they're like, "Oh, please." You know, oh, here we go again. Those sort of things. Or they just get angry. They go from 0 to 120 for really no reason. You just ask a question. That's it. Let me give you a small example of that. And, you know, and aggression can be words. I mean, concern can be words, or it can be what they do on their face. Any of you guys in here remember Scott Peterson? Right? Was convicted of killing his wife and unborn child, Lacey? Okay. Eventually he was convicted. But before, when he was sitting in jail, there was an interview that they had with Diane Sawyer. And leading up to it, and Diane said, but Scott, here's the question. Everybody in America wants to know, did you kill your wife? Now, probably most of us would sit there and if we hadn't killed our spouses, would try to figure out the right, or would know the right things to say. What Scott Peterson did and said was he smiled. First thing he did was he smiled. He goes, I love my wife. No, I wouldn't kill Lacey. But he smiled. How weird is that? He made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. Somebody just asked you if you killed your wife, an unborn child, and you're smiling? Okay, so anyway, an inappropriate level of concern. Now here's where I want to get into what you guys were talking about a minute ago, this convince versus convey. If I ask, what's your name? Tiffany? Because I'm really tired of picking on poor Erin. If I ask Tiffany, did you take the merchandise? Okay? What are the two answers that Tiffany can give me that would let me know whether or not she took the merchandise? What are the two appropriate answers that would convey information? Yes or no? Yes or no? But what if I say, Tiffany, did you take the missing merchandise? And she runs into this whole, look, I'm a good employee. I've been loyal to this company for so long. I've never done anything that would give you any reason to think I'm less than a stellar employee. What is she doing here? Is she conveying information, or is she trying to convince me of something? She's trying to convince me of something, right? She's trying to convince me she's a good employee that nobody should ever have any question about. Okay? That is what you're going to hear most of the time. A convincing statement is the strongest arrow that any person's going to have in their quiver. Okay? Saying, I'm a good person, I'm a good worker, all of those sort of things. When you talk about trying to manage someone's perception, I mean, think about it. Think about it for just a moment. Because maybe Tiffany is a good person. Maybe Tiffany is a stellar employee. Maybe she had a bad day. She took something and now she doesn't know what to do. So when somebody's trying to convince me of something, going back to a minute ago when I said people can talk, they can answer a question for 10 minutes, but never answer the question I asked. They can talk all day. When I said I've seen CEOs lie for 25 minutes on a single question, That's what I'm talking about. They'll start talking about how healthy their company is, how great their sales are, how wonderful their employee and their management team are. What they're doing is trying to convince me, not convey information to me. Okay? Convincing statements are so strong. Let me give you another example from history. You guys all remember, I can't remember her last name. Susan, the woman who put her children in the back of the car, or in the car, in their car seats, and Susan Smith, thank you. I can't forget Smith. Okay, Susan Smith, she put her kids in the car seat, pushed the car into the lake, ran to the cops and said that somebody had carjacked her car, right? We were doing a training session for some law enforcement in Indiana, and these gentlemen happened to be in the class. They're from Union, South Carolina. They happened to be in the class, and they came up and they said, hey, we now know how Susan Smith initially beat us when she came into the police station. She ran into the station, she's crying, she's hysterical, someone hijacked my car, my kids are in the car. Susan, did you have anything to do with it? Susan Smith's answer was, I love my children, I would never harm my children, why would I hurt my children? What did you not hear?
No.
You didn't hear a denial, right? You didn't hear her say, no, I didn't. What you did hear her say was, I wouldn't hurt my children. Guess what? Wouldn't and didn't aren't the same thing. Somebody says, I wouldn't do something, it's not the same thing as saying I didn't do something. We have to listen for didn't. Okay? We have to listen for the words, what people are saying, not what we think they say. Because in our thought, it doesn't make sense for someone to kill their kids, right? In fact, we said to them, we said, well, what did you say to her? And why did she beat you? And they said, because what she said made sense. Now, for just a moment, they hadn't done an investigation yet, right? She just came in, she's crying, she's hysterical, she's got all this stuff going on. They have no proof of anything other than the fact of what she's standing there telling them. And so they say, we said to her, what did you say? What did you say? And we said, well, we asked her why she would say that. And, we got this behavior, we didn't like this behavior, so we finally said to her, we said, Susan, look, sometimes things happen, and, your parents get out of control, and for just a moment, maybe something happened. And she just continued with, no, I love my children, I would never hurt my children, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so what we say is when you hear convincing statements and you have no investigation in Susan Smith's case, what you have to do is go, I just heard 3 protest statements or convincing statements. I love my children, I would never harm my children, I would do nothing to hurt my children. I don't hear a denial. If we talk about clusters being 2 or more, do I have a lie? Absolutely,
Yes.
right? I've got the not answering or not giving me a denial, and I've got 3 what we call convincing statements. Okay, now, convincing statements sound so true, or in this particular case, irrefutable. Let's say this, the officers say to Susan, so Susan, look, you say you didn't kill your wife, or kill your kids, prove it. And she goes, I love my kids, I take care of my kids, I take them to church, they're happy, they're well fed, they're well clothed, all this sort of stuff. Now, Mr. Police Officer, what do you have? At this point, they got nothing. So convincing statements sound really true. Again, Tiffany may be a good person, but that didn't answer my question. Okay? So guess who I'm going to be looking at? I'm going to be looking at Tiffany. Okay? Referral statements. Referral statements are statements that people make over and over again to try to convince you they didn't do anything wrong. All right? So let's say this young lady standing up the back right here. Let's say she went outside to go to the bathroom while I'm standing here talking. She comes back in and she goes, hey, Susan, let me interrupt for just a sec. I need you guys to know that there are some little green men running around the hallway. Now, what's our first impression of this young lady who just walked in?
Crazy.
Right? Okay. But let's say she goes, no, I know it's hard to believe, but I'm telling you, some little green men running around out there. Now, what are we inclined to do? Go look. Right? So she's now starting to bring us in. We're starting to believe a little bit about what she says. That, again, is perception manipulation. All right? Invoking religion. People will talk about, I swear on a stack of Bibles, I swear to God. In the accounting world, I swear on GAAP. All these sort of things that people will tell us, because let's face it, especially in this world of political, rightness and everybody wanting to be good and not step on anybody's toes, somebody throws out religion. What do you have in your backpack, your purse, your desk drawer that beats religion?
Not
Okay,
nothing.
that's a dangerous, dangerous one. Perception qualifiers are a little different than exclusionary qualifiers. Perception qualifiers are the things that people say and do to dress up their lie, to verbally dress up their lie. Things like, well, to tell you the truth, honestly, frankly. Now, some of you all may be sitting in this room and saying, oh, cripe, that's a common phrase for me. I say that stuff all the time, right? It's a habit, okay? You're lucky because we're looking at clusters, okay? So you get your frankly, you get your honestly. It's when you start having
Clusters.
more and more deception in your answer that we're going to pay attention. Okay, nonverbals. Now, a lot of times people will say to me, well, Susan, if you say that the behaviors start within the first 5 seconds, I'll beat you and just not do or say anything for 5 seconds. Well, unfortunately for you, a behavioral pause is a deceptive indicator. Okay? Now, for just a moment, you have to think about this because you have to ask yourself if you get a pause, did the question make sense for a pause? So if I say to Aaron, for example, Aaron, let's see, January 26th, 10 years ago, what were you doing? Does that allow a pause? Right? Okay, so it's only fair that she gets a pause there. But what if I say, so Aaron, January 26th, 10 years ago, did you rob the Bank of America? Yeah, see, she answered that pretty quickly, right? If it had taken her time to think about that answer, you guys got to look at your hiring policies, okay? Because that would have been a problem, all right? Verbal, nonverbal disconnect. What I want you to do, I want you to do a little trick for me, or another little game for me for a moment. I want you to look at the person sitting next to you. Before you do it, though, look at me. I want you to look at the person sitting next to you, and I want you to say, do you like me? Okay. And I want that person to go, yes, I like you very much. Okay? And then I want you to switch. So do it real quick because we don't have much time. Okay. Okay. All right. Woo. Okay. All right. I don't have a lot of time. Okay. Did that feel weird? Did that feel weird? All right. And that's telling you to do that. Okay? That's telling you to do that, and you find it hard to do. All right? You're deliberately doing it. If you see someone do that, it's huge. It means their brain is so fried that they're not doing what their body is made to do. Okay? Now, everything that I'm talking about, with exception to that one verbal nonverbal disconnect, is cross-cultural, cross-gender. You can use it anywhere in the world. This one is one of those you cannot. All right, you can't, because they're in India, for example. That's how they answer. All right, but every place else, you can use the verbal nonverbal disconnect. You just have to know your audience a little bit. Anchor point movements. Anchor point movements are the things that anchor you to the ground, to the world, to the earth. For example, my feet right now would be anchor points if my arms are like this. If you ask me a question and in response to that question, I move my arms or my legs, that's an anchor point movement. All right? You mentioned the feet. My bottom is my anchor point, my back's my anchor point, my feet are my anchor point. Feet are always anchor points. All right? Women especially, have a tendency to sit with our legs crossed, and we have that foot that's dangling. We call a hanging anchor point. Watch it, because that's where it's going to go. That person's trying to maintain control of themselves. It's going to go to that floating anchor point. Grooming gestures, things that people do to, again, dress up the lie. They might fix their tie, they might fix their hair, they might look at their watch, anything like that that would be dressing up the lie physically. And then finally, hands to the face.
They fix their
Okay?
tie.
If someone is in a flight or fight syndrome or flight or fight phase, which means that rather than tell you the truth, they're going to try to keep it in. They're going to do stuff, the blood vessels at the ends of the fingers and the ends start to shrink and it itches. So they will start playing with their nose or their ear or scratch their hands or things like that. So hands to the face are huge.
Okay.
Okay, any questions? You want another shot at her? Oh, yes, sir.
There seemed to be an art or a science around the pauses that you had after every question. Can you talk a little bit about
Yes,
that?
I can. It means I'm going to cut in my... Can you ask me in the answer and question session? So I'll do what I'm supposed to do? Okay. All right. But you're absolutely right. Let's look at her real quick. Think about things that we talked about. Think about what you guys mentioned earlier about you like the fact that she was answering those questions more, but that's not good. Okay? And she didn't really answer the question. So the more people talk, the worse it is. Okay? So let's go. My first question for you, Jamie, is what involvement did you have in the company's recently discovered fraudulent accounting activities?
Oh, none at all.
Appropriate level of concern? Feet move?
Did you ever direct Mr. Glenn to backdate any contracts? No, of course not.
Feet move? Inappropriate level of concern?
Prior to the recent audit that uncovered these accounting irregularities, did you have any knowledge that Mr. Glenn was backdating contracts? No. I mean, if I had knowledge about that, then I would speak up and say something.
Straight answer.
Convincing statement. I would have spoke up. Feet move.
Is there any reason that a forensic computer review would uncover any communication with Mr. Glenn regarding this matter? No. Of course, I don't have any communication with him regarding this at all.
I'm okay with that one, except for the feet move. But that's only one behavior.
At any time, did Mr. Glenn ever reveal or discuss his efforts to manipulate the company's accountings with you? No. If he had, then I would have told someone, fired him, gotten something would have happened if I knew anything.
So I had some convincing statements. Feet, love feet.
Jamie, why should we believe that you're not involved in this matter? I've always had a very good reputation with the company. I have no enemies in the company. No one, I've always done my best. And I believe that I have a very good reputation with that. And people trust me. And I would never do something like that.
Oh, no.
Especially for something that I've worked so hard at.
Okay, I'm going to end that because I think we all see the convincing statements, we see the feet and things like that. I'm not going to just go through the rest of the questions. How do we feel about her now?
That's being deceptive, yo.
She's a liar. Yeah, well, just so you know, at the end of my role in this investigation was not only to find the person who was being deceptive, but to confront the person who I thought was being deceptive. Just so you know, she showed over 26 deceptive behaviors in that short interview.
Whoa.
Okay, for me, it was a neon sign. I knew immediately it was
26 deceptive behaviors in the interview. Over 26. I don't know. Is that a lot? I mean, it sounds like a lot. I mean, if you were talking to your girl, I think 26 signs that she was being, she wasn't being truthful during the conversation. That's a big red flag. I mean, but we'll see. It could be over nothing. She could just being protective. I don't know, but giving the information seems like she's lying, yo. It's funny.
It's her. Okay. So anyway, those are the keys to success. The ones that we talked about. Shireen's going to come up here. I know we got a couple questions. So can I answer his question? Okay.
Absolutely.
So
After they're done.
So yes, I put pauses between my questions and the answer. The reason for that is because you make it just south of being uncomfortable. People have a tendency to want to fill in quiet spaces, and a lot of times they'll do those. They'll fill it in with convincing statements or other things that will be deceptive. If I don't see anything else, then I'll ask the question. But I always try to wait at least 3 or 4 seconds before I ask my second question, because if I'm machine gunning at them and asking questions, it makes them very comfortable to just answer real quickly.
I have a really quick question for you because we're almost out of time. But how does all this work on the phone?
Good question. It does work on the phone. Obviously, you lose the nonverbal, so you don't see the person moving or anything like that. But you can hear the chair squeak when they move back and forth in the chair. What you'll be paying more attention to is the verbal, obviously.
Bro, the gangster. Oh my goodness. The CIA, they can analyze you over the phone, yo. They're like, nah, he lying. Send the squad car over right now. I heard him. I was on the phone with him. I talked to him for 10 minutes. I got over 100 variation different signs that he was lying. Within that time frame, just send the squad car right now. Just send him. He's the guy. I'm pretty sure they can't do it that way, but it is amazing that they got the skills to be able to be like, I think this dude's deceptive just by talking to you and hearing you, by ear over the phone. That's those some skills right there. Some skills. All right, back to it.
Listening for whether they're doing any of the things that we talked about here, and be careful, very careful when you're on the phone interviews about mind drift. Don't be thinking about what your next question is. Be thinking about what they're saying in their answer. Okay? Yes. That's a good question. The behavior, if you're doing the verbal.
How do you account for nervousness?
Okay. If you're following the timing and clusters thing, again, nervous behavior is nervous behavior, but you're looking for the timing and those deceptive behaviors. And once you see those, you'll start to see the nerve. You don't care whether they're nervous, okay? Because people do stuff, and you don't know how people manifest nervousness versus deception. So you really have to follow the behaviors, the timing and clusters and the behaviors, because everybody wants you to get it right. So we do, and I gave you the short and dirty of all this stuff. There's actually a book out we wrote called Spy the Lie, which has a lot more detail in it. Can help you as much as you want. A little plug, we also do training all around the country. If you guys think your company might want a training at one of your off-sites or something like that, we come in and give you a longer presentation. Our normal presentation is like 3.5 hours.
Great. Susan, this was fantastic as always.
All
Thank
right.
you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Okay. So, just a couple of quick house.
Oh, that's the end of that one. Oh, man. That went by pretty well. Did not go by fast because of all the delays and issues. Once again, I apologize again, guys. It wasn't my fault. Like, I had everything set up to stream ahead of time. But for some reason, it just kept falling into issues with YouTube not wanting to stream. And then it wanted to stream, and then once it started streaming, it disconnected randomly. But we're going now. We seem to be going strong. Sadly, did not start off as smooth as I wanted to, but we're going to keep things going here and check out some more videos. Let's see what else we got to check out here. That was fun, though. So if you guys interested in spotting liars, this is a good video to go over. The description for this will be down below. I'll make sure that it's down there. But yeah, let's check out this next video. Nope, not that one. Let's see. Huh. Okay, let's go to history. The heck? I think these are the guys you're looking for.
But
Mine warehouse. Right there.
what if he had? Sometimes the strangest things get caught on camera.
Okay.
Hello everyone. You've probably been in a situation where your friend is telling an unbelievable story, but you know that it's all made up. It just can't be real. Moreover, your friend doesn't have any proof. But what if he had? Sometimes the strangest things get caught on camera, and you just can't believe that they're real. But can't believe that they're real. But see it for yourself. Let's get it on. Let's be honest, car accidents don't usually end well. Even if it's not a terrible crash, it at least means stress and a lot of trouble for the car owners. Not to mention the damage to the car itself, like dents and so on. But it turns out that you can deal with a small dent by yourself, without paying loads of money to special people. All you need is some hot water, which you're going to pour directly on the dent, and a plunger. Yes, it's that simple. We wouldn't believe it either if we hadn't seen it with our own eyes. When South Africa's rugby team won the World Cup for the third time, the whole country celebrated, and the mood of the residents spread far beyond the borders of the country. Sailors of the research vessel Gemini craft took a rugby ball into the sea and convinced a beluga to play with them. Yes, we're talking about a huge, scary whale. The crew members threw the ball into the water, and the whale repeatedly caught it and brought it back. We usually expect
They got a beluga whale to play with them. That's dope. That is dope.
this kind of behaviour from dogs, but it can also be seen in beluga whales. They're curious, playful, and are ready to make contact with people, especially when they want to celebrate the success of their national team. Riding a bike with one hand, easy peasy. Riding a bike with no hands, a little harder but doable.
I meant to do that.
But what about riding without a front wheel? We wouldn't have thought it was possible.
Oh, that was just dope. Come on, that was dope. Don't even lie. You know that was dope. That was cool.
The lifts are closed and there's no snow in the foothills. Not a problem. You can put on your skis and ride on a slope even without snow, but only if it's covered with fallen leaves. And please be careful and avoid the trees. If you throw a coin in the water, it will sink instantly. Everyone knows this, and everybody has probably seen coins sink, for example after throwing them into a fountain. But it turns out, even this rule has its exceptions. Aluminium coins can float because they don't weigh much, but you have to place them in the right way, and then the coins will float thanks to surface tension. Physics, friends, what a strange thing. Falling asleep behind the wheel is a nightmare. Even if it's just for a couple of seconds, something terrible can happen. The situation on the road can change at any moment, and if the driver can't react in time, they will pay with their life. And now imagine that you're driving on a busy road and suddenly notice that the driver of the car next to you is sound asleep. Fortunately, he's driving a Tesla with an autopilot. Strange, but okay. But after a while, you notice the same Tesla again with the same guy driving, and he's sleeping again. To be honest, we haven't been able to figure out which kind of sharks are in this video, but we're sure these are sharks. You can enjoy this extreme experience in the Maldives, and we imagine you have to be really brave to do it. Although these sharks probably don't cause any harm to people, they still make you shiver. Well, thanks to Jaws for that. American architect Ronald Rail installed a pink seesaw on the US-Mexican border wall near El Paso, Texas, half in the US, half in Mexico. Thus, children and adults from the two countries were given the opportunity to play despite the barrier that separates them. Something like an idea of unity, which is easiest to convey through the game. The point is quite simple. The two sides are always connected. What happens on one side will affect what happens on the other side. The architect said that the idea of creating this art object came to him 10 years ago, but he only made it real this year. Trained dogs? You won't surprise anyone with them. Think of something more interesting. What about parrots? And we're not talking about the ability to imitate human speech or other sounds, but about real training. It turns out that if you want to, parrots can be taught how to play basketball. Of course, they won't be able to score a perfect three-pointer, but it's still pretty funny.
Playing basketball.
On a freezing January morning, Daniel Bromley jumped into his car and went to a construction site in the Great Desert of Victoria in Western Australia. He was on a rescue mission, but he didn't know what kind of animal he would save that day. Daniel used to wake up at 3 a.m. every day and walk 15 kilometers along a trench dug in the middle of the desert. They were going to lay a gas pipeline there, but that wasn't why the guy came to the construction site. He was pulling out the animals that had accidentally fallen into the trench. The guy was just looking around when he saw a little mouse lying on the ground. It was very cold and hardly moving anymore. It's worth saying that there are a lot of mice in the Australian deserts, but there are also a lot of predators who don't mind having them for lunch. So these creatures are very cautious and scared, and meeting one of them is very rare. Daniel carefully picked up the mouse, hoping for the best, but the tiny creature didn't even move. The man suspected that it was just numb and took the poor animal to his car. After 20 minutes under the heater, the poor rodent came to its senses.
Hello, good morning.
But Daniel does.
See, me, honestly, I would have just thought it was dead. I would have just thought it was dead and was just like, well, another dead rodent. Just smooshed it to the side with my foot and kept on walking. I mean, I like animals too. I would have thought it was dead. I wouldn't have picked it up and tried to like nurture it and all that. That's cool. It's cool he was able to do that. It's obviously real good with animals because I don't know about y'all, but I would have just kicked it to the side.
Decided to wait until the evening. Only when the sun began to set, the guy released the mouse and it ran away happily.
Your mice look cute too. Our mice don't look like that.
Snowboarding among trees is not a good idea, especially if you're not a professional. But some people dare to do it because they are properly trained. For example, Sani Oksanen from Finland. This girl knows exactly what to do with a snowboard. And thanks to this, she can show the world a real fairy tale winter. It often happens in movies and detective novels that the perpetrator gets caught red-handed. Nevertheless, in real life, this hardly ever happens, let alone caught on camera. However, just for you, we found one unbelievable example. It happened in Seattle. A Costco employee noticed that two suspicious people, one of whom had a knife with him, were planning to carry a pretty large amount of expensive devices through the fire escape. He immediately called the police, and the officers who arrived at the scene hid at the gate. It wasn't long before the burglars came out and fell right into the hands of the police. Their accomplice, who was waiting in a car nearby, was arrested.
They ran right into the police. The cops are just waiting for him outside. That's hilarious. Oh, let me take that back. I want to see that again. That is hilarious. They're just waiting for him.
One of whom had a knife with him, were planning to carry a pretty large amount of expensive devices through the fire escape. He immediately called the police, and the officers who arrived at the scene hid at the gate. It wasn't long before the burglars came out and fell right into the hands of the police.
Surprise!
Their accomplice, who was waiting in a car nearby, was arrested too. Authorities believe the group may have been responsible for another Costco robbery. Then the price of the stolen goods amounted to $2,200. Rena Casserly is a famous German acrobat and animal trainer. In his Instagram, you can find a lot of inspiring videos and photos, especially with elephants. Despite his rather young age, Rena knows how to communicate with these amazing animals and perform dizzying tricks with their help. Elephants help Rena to throw balls into the basketball rings, and they do it themselves. They also juggle and allow Rena to stand on their tusks. Moreover, they spin the hoop and also throw Rena around all the time, sometimes by themselves and sometimes with the help of a seesaw. It looks like they adore their human. Rena's gang consists of 5 elephants, and the guy is a 7th generation animal trainer. It's not surprising that he finds it so easy to get along with elephants and considers himself their friend. Rope jumping for a long time without stumbling isn't an easy thing to do. You lose your breath, you fall over your feet, and so on. Skateboarding without falling also requires certain skills, otherwise you can end up in the hospital. But how about combining these two activities? No, we're not crazy. It's actually a thing. Look what this guy's doing. By the way, they say that some masters can rope jump while skating together with the board. However, that's a whole other level. In action movies, there's always a scene where a car stops abruptly, turns around and eventually stops right next to the sidewalk. Taxi movies are basically made up of these stunts, but how about a sharp braking on the water? And not on screen, but in real life. During a drill, Malaysian police officers showed how to quickly moor a boat to a pier or another ship. And let's be honest, only people with steel nerves can stand on the key during such a trick. Perhaps if these exercises hadn't been filmed, no one would have believed this was possible at all. Cool. Too cool. However, some people online believe that the captain of the boat was helped by fenders, special devices that smooth the mooring. These can be car tires, special inflated cylinders or spheres, and even ropes. If it weren't for them, the ship would have probably ended up stuck in the pier. Some people think that golf is an incredibly boring pastime that's suitable only for the elderly. You just roll a ball into a hole, boring, no adrenaline. Well, you probably think that only because you've never played golf in Florida, because here at any moment you can see an alligator. Alligators like to sit next to golf clubs because they're often built in places that are also perfect for these reptiles. Usually these are warm areas with lakes and rich vegetation, a real paradise for these creatures. And the fact that there are some weirdos with clubs walking around, who cares about them? So alligators just ignore them. Have you ever tried blowing out bubbles at low temperatures? They freeze almost instantly and fall and break. But if you create a bubble on a stable surface and find a good camera, you can see how the soapy water turns into ice. And you wouldn't believe how fascinating it can be if you hadn't seen the whole process for yourself. Of course, a special composition should be used. You have to use not only soapy water, but add some corn syrup and sugar to make the bubbles more resistant. It's also important to choose the right weather. The colder it is, the faster the bubbles will freeze. And don't forget about the wind. It can easily ruin the whole experiment. Psst, dude, are you looking for new technologies and great gadgets? Are your thoughts focused on the future?
Okay, alright. That was fun. Let's see what else we got. Yeah. Just a sec. Let's see. Check out some embarrassing moments.
Hello, everyone. How would you react if you ripped your pants in front of your colleagues? You probably don't even want to imagine it. Well, the heroes of today's videos got into really embarrassing situations. For example, some of them got captured on camera at the stadium with their finger in their nose. Watch the video to the end if you're not afraid of enormous amounts of second-hand embarrassment. Let's get it on. It looks really good, but we have only one question. How the hell do you move around in this?
Oh, goodness. Hello, nurse. Can she breathe?
That's how. Doesn't look too graceful though. So, does it make any sense to make such a crowded photo session in a stunning dress if everyone will film your epic fail on the stairs?
Goodness gracious, woman. Just put on a normal dress. That is not worth it. Is that worth it? I don't think it's worth it. I mean, she looked good. The dress looks great on her, but if you can't make it up the stairs in what you're wearing, just don't wear it. Just she look. I mean, maybe for a shoot or something like that, which is fine. Go ahead and make money, but if you just going out, just wear a normal dress, woman. Jesus. Oh man.
Well, you can't even feel sorry for this guy. Dude, what were you thinking when you put that gold treat in your mouth?
Oh.
Man wouldn't know what to do in such an embarrassing situation. But this girl's doing fine. She raised her wig from the ground and carried on as if nothing had happened.
No, nothing did happen. She just dropped the wig, man. You know.
Once a makeup artist on TV decided to work as a costume assistant, and this is what happened. Who knew that the dress of the TV host was held by threads? By the way, the studio didn't go live that day. The host simply refused to be filmed like that. It's a shame that she forgot the internet existed. Well, guys, of all the places, the stadium is the one with the cameras at every corner. Many people dream of getting caught in the lens.
As well. You see the kid looking straight into the camera. Look.
While others don't really care and are not even distracted from their little secret hobbies, we bet that after this they wouldn't want to go to the stadium anymore. This bus driver worked his shift, brought skiers to their destination, brewed a cup of strong coffee, but before he could take a sip, someone's ski was already in his window. It's not entirely clear what exactly this guy was trying to do, but the most unbelievable thing is how he tries to lie and say that it wasn't him, standing in the snow with only one ski on his feet. Logic? Never heard of it. We all know perfectly well what is about to happen now, right? Yes, that's it. Good thing at least the girl's face isn't visible. It's a shame that her friends decided to leak it onto social media. A car gas station, 3 a.m. in the morning. What kind of people do you expect to meet at that time, and in a place like this? Well, these two buddies fit in quite well, but life didn't prepare the policeman for that.
One float chicken rollers, one for Asian, Indian, one for me.
This guy is now an internet hero. He did what many dreamed of, but never had enough courage to actually pull this off.
He's gonna bite it.
Look at this guy. Oh my God.
And he's not at all ashamed. It's also amazing how calm the reporter is. Maybe that was the plan all along.
Now from the...
We hope that this guy has a spare pair of pants, otherwise it'd be really awkward. If someone asks us what second-hand embarrassment means, we'll show them this video from one of Katy Perry's performances.
Oh no. She gonna fall?
Katie, next time better entrust
What the hell?
the flute to one of your dancers. Maybe they will do better. What do you even know about awkward situations? This girl lost a tooth right during the live broadcast, and she didn't even bat an eye. It'd be funny if she was promoting a dental clinic or a toothpaste for the perfect smile at that moment.
How'd she lose a tooth? How do you just lose a tooth? How do you... They're strong, like you can't just tooth don't just fall out. How did you? That was never a real tooth. It was already a fake tooth. That's what happened. That was a fake tooth already put in there that decided to come out. That's what that was.
A clear illustration why the first date in the park in the rain is not the best idea. Though in the movies, everything usually looks so romantic. It's hard to figure out exactly what's going on in this video, but the prank was definitely a success. And we thought that in countries with many snakes and crocodiles, no one's afraid of them anymore. Seems that even the turtle turned away not to see this embarrassment, but a friend with a camera on his smartphone was right there. Let's make bets. Will he help his friend with the repair, or will he continue to enjoy his suffering? This is probably the worst nightmare for any model, to fall on the catwalk right during a major beauty contest. We wonder if there's at least some way to look graceful in a situation like that. Seems like only cats can do that, though not all the time.
And down she goes.
What does a brutal athlete do when he gets into an unpleasant situation?
Oh.
That's right, he calls his mum. Simply because mum will find a way out, even from a hopeless situation.
Waterproof tape!
When we were kids, we were all scared that our mother would leave us alone in the store, right? Turns out that there are situations that are way worse. The kindergarten staff must be quite wary of this mum every time she comes to take her kid. This guy's story can teach us only one thing. Don't tempt fate, especially if you want to show off, though the poor guy looks so sincerely remorseful that we can't even blame him.
No.
That was his only pole. That was his only pole. That was his only pole. You can tell by the look at his face. That's the only pole they brought there today for him to use. He was looking forward to it too. Look, he's a big boy. He wanted his fish. He was... Now he can't get it. That's sad. Sad. Yeah.
You okay?
Sorry, buddy.
Sometimes our actions defy any logic. Well, what was this journalist hoping for when she decided to grab that rope?
Burgemeester, wat is er nou zo bijzonder aan zeilkamp?
Don't grab it.
De mooiste.
Don't.
Dat gaat niet goed. Deze kant op.
But the reaction of the man raises even more questions. Did you see how quickly he took off his necklace? If anyone has any idea why, share it in the comments.
The problem wasn't that she grabbed this rope. The problem was she leaned onto it. She was trying to lean onto it. She... Oh, man.
That time when you got too carried away by dancing and completely lost touch with real life. This performance, of course, will definitely be remembered by everyone for a long time. But there is one piece of advice. Always choose the right size of pants, especially when you're going to dance in front of a crowd. Of course, we're all scared of flying insects, even if we don't admit it. But this guy was very unlucky. Now, this embarrassing situation will stay forever in the history of the internet. Well, yes, live broadcasts spare no one. Hey, stop being lazy. It's time to use that brain of yours. Welcome to Brain Time. Incredible facts from the
Oh, looks like we reached the end of this one. Should we go for one more? Yeah, I think we're gonna call in for today. But thank you guys that did stop by. I'll be doing this again next week, so be sure to come back, and it'll be same time next week around 4 p.m. 4 p.m. Pacific time, and I'll we'll be sure. Hopefully there won't be any disruptions like this time. I'll double check to make sure that that won't be the issue. But yeah, thank you guys for hanging out this Sunday, and I'll see you next week. Okay. Was there anything that I wanted to do? No, that's it. Thank you guys. Like I said, as usual, the description to these videos, I'll make sure to put them down in the links in the description below. If you have any further questions, put them down in the comments. Be sure to hit the like button, hit the subscription button, hit the notification bell. Come check back here for more videos, and I'll be hollering at you guys in a little bit. All right? Okay. All right. We out of this mode. Done.